Blessed love and blessed night, boxing world, boxing nation, fighting world, our fighting nation. It's real life boxing. We're gonna do Shawn Porter versus Danny Garcia fight breakdown. Before we get into that, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button. It's real life boxing. So Danny Garcia versus Shawn Porter, great fight. I wanted to wait a few days. I know it's late, but I wanted to wait a couple days before I did my fight breakdown, just to see what the rest of the boxing world and some boxing fans were saying. A lot of people were disappointed. They thought that that Danny Garcia won, and a lot of people felt like Shawn Porter won. Me personally, I scored the fight a draw, but I'm not upset at the decision. Now, fight breakdown. Let's. It was a great fight. Shawn Porter won the fight by unanimous decision. So let's get into the fight now. If you've seen my pre-fight thoughts, you know what I mean, I said that if Shawn Porter boxed, he made it a really difficult fight for Danny Garcia, you know what I mean, and that's exactly what he did. He boxed the shit out of him. He made the necessary adjustments in the necessary time throughout the course of the fight to win the fight. You know what I mean? Danny Garcia, obviously, his punch stats were higher. He had the higher percentage. I think total punches, Shawn Porter may have landed like 8 more punches. I think Shawn Porter landed like 20 something more jabs, but Danny Garcia landed more power punches in a way higher percentage. Like Shawn Porter threw, I think, 300 more punches than Danny Garcia threw, you know what I mean? And Danny Garcia had a much higher accuracy percentage. But I think that Shawn Porter made the necessary adjustments and he boxed. In the first couple rounds, you know what I mean, they both started out, you know what I mean, Shawn Porter kind of started out doing his regular. He was still boxing, but he was more jumping in. He was more jumping in instead of, taking his time. And Danny was catching him. You know what I mean? They were jabbing with each other. Danny was catching him. Danny was timing him good and catching him with hard power shots, you know what I mean, in like the first 3 rounds. But after that, Shawn Porter he made an adjustment, you know what I mean? He kind of stopped jumping in so much, and he kind of sat back and started waiting. He started to bait Danny into making Danny be first so he can counterpunch him, you know what I mean? And then that off threw Danny Garcia, because Danny Garcia stopped using his jab because Shawn Porter was countering his jab every time he threw it. And obviously Shawn Porter had the way faster hands, you know what I mean, was way quicker. So he was literally countering the shit out of his jab, every time Danny would throw it. So it got to a point where Danny didn't even want to throw the jab anymore, and then he didn't know what to do after that. Angel Garcia was pleading with him, you know what I mean, pleading with him to make adjustments, to throw the overhand right, to take his head off the line and throw the overhand right and come back with the hook. But let's stay on Shawn Porter. So so Shawn Porter boxed, but then what he also did is he mixed in the aggression, how overly aggressive he is. He mixed that in with the boxing, you know what I mean, and Danny just couldn't adjust to it quick enough, you know what I mean. So shout out to Shawn Porter, because he boxed really well. He stuck to his game plan, and he knew that he couldn't go in, you know what I mean, with his head down, like the usual stuff that he does. He knew he couldn't go in like that because Danny would have ate up his head, you know what I mean. And Danny still landed some good shots on him, even with Shawn boxing and stuff. But he mixed in the aggression with the boxing, and he stayed disciplined. He stayed disciplined throughout the course of the fight, and he outworked Danny, you know what I mean. And so you couldn't really be mad at the draw. I think that Shawn Porter did a great job. Now let's get to Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia, he landed a high amount of his a high percent of his power shots. I thought it was a draw because of that. I thought that Danny was landing the harder, cleaner, effective punches over the course of the fight. You know what I mean? So there may have been rounds where that you know what I mean, the judges may have gave to Shawn Porter because he was applying pressure. You know what I mean? But I gave that round to Danny because Danny landed the harder, cleaner punches. You know what I mean, in that round. Like, I watched the fight like 4 or 5 times already, and something that I remember last night when I was watching the fight, not last night, the night before last, I was watching the fight, and I remember seeing Shawn Porter throw like a 4-punch combination, and he missed every single punch. And there's like 2 separate occasions of that were within like, you know, 30 seconds to a minute apart, where he threw 4 punches and missed every single one of them. And I mean, and I'm just sitting there thinking, and I'm like, wow, you know what I mean? But it's kind of hidden because of mannerism and perception, and I want to talk about that in this video. Now, some people are saying, because we're sticking on Danny Garcia, I see a lot of people are saying, you know, if it was Floyd that was fighting this fight, if you just switched the people and it was Floyd and not Danny Garcia, you know, they would have gave the fight to Floyd. This was the exact same thing as Floyd and Maidana. You know what I mean? And I disagree with that because of mannerism and perception. Perception is the way that things are perceived, and mannerism is the manner in which things are done in. Now, Danny Garcia, his mannerism was saying that he was kind of defeated already. You know what I mean? He wasn't. And I've never seen Danny Garcia look like this. From about the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th round, around those rounds, like, Danny Garcia already looked like he was defeated. You know what I mean? He already looked like he was confused and a defeated fighter. At the end of the fight, Shawn Porter still looked like, you know, the more uppity fighter, Danny looked like the more beaten fighter. And not necessarily saying that he was more beat up, but I mean body language. You know what I mean? So mannerism, the way that you do things. Floyd has never looked like he was defeated. Floyd doesn't even carry that type of, he doesn't carry that in his body language. He never looks like he's defeated. He never looks like he's confused or he's even hurt or he's struggling or he can't figure out a fighter. Not that late in a fight. By that late in the fight, Floyd has made many adjustments and he's already comfortable. You know what I mean? And it doesn't, you can name any fight, it doesn't matter. Maidana put the pressure on him, but in the middle of the ring, Floyd was beating the shit out of Maidana. You know what I mean? Just raking him. You know what I mean? And nobody can dispute that. Yes, Maidana was pressuring him, but Floyd was still, you know what I mean, landing the cleaner, harder, effective punches, you know what I mean, in the middle of the ring. So Danny Garcia, he looked beaten. He didn't, he made adjustments in the 11th and 12th round. He started to go to the body and he started to throw the uppercut, and he put the hook, he started to put the hook behind it like in the 12th round. But by that time it was too late. You know what I mean? It was too late. So now you gotta be mindful of the way people perceive things. You know what I mean? Shawn Porter is the more aggressive fighter. Yes, Danny was landing, you know, hard shots, but the tenacity in Shawn Porter, he kept coming forward. He never looked like he was affected, and at the same time, he was still hitting Danny with his own very good shots. You know what I mean? So, you know, for those people that say, you know, oh, if it was Floyd, like, no, because Floyd does things in a different manner in which Danny was doing it in, and that's what you have to be careful of. You know what I mean? But it was a great fight. I think that it was a great fight, and I think that it was a draw. I scored it a draw, but like I said, I can see where people may have thought Shawn Porter would have won. I don't agree with the unanimous decision at all. You know what I mean? But I can see where people thought Shawn Porter won. You know what I mean? It's hard for me to watch that fight and say that Danny Garcia won. I'm gonna be honest. You know what I mean? I scored it a draw. You know what I mean? It's hard to watch the fight and say that Danny Garcia won, just because, you know, Shawn Porter is working so hard and he's tenacious and his you know, it's not he's aggressive, and it's not useless aggression. You know what I mean? He's not just coming forward and just throwing himself and just smothering Danny and just being all over him. No, he was being intelligent with it. You know what I mean? And he was being very calculated with the things that he was doing. You know what I mean? Even baiting Danny into have to go in first so that he can counterpunch Danny. And Danny wasn't used to that, because we know that Danny likes to counterpunch. You know what I mean? So it was a great fight. Honestly, it was good to see Shawn Porter box like that. You know what I mean? Because he's a good athlete and he could box. So that was more pleasurable to watch than, you know, some of his other fights. But you know, it was a great fight. Shout out to both fighters, and we're glad that both fighters came out, you know, physically healthy. You know what I mean? Danny's feelings could be hurt. You know what I mean? Like I said, some people saying it's politics, but you know, it's hard to look at that fight and say that it was an outright robbery. You know what I mean? In basketball or football, usually, you know, percentages win the games. Usually in basketball, when the team has a higher shooting percentage, they win the game. You know what I mean? But you know, this is boxing, and there's perception and mannerism, and we have to be careful with that. You know what I mean? You can't be sitting back in a fight against Shawn Porter knowing that he's gonna work, you know what I mean, all around. Like, and even when he takes his 30 seconds off, like, you got to be on top of him, because you know that he's gonna be on top of you. So, you know, the judges watch these things, and this is why they say you don't leave the fight in the hands of the judges. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's real life boxing. It was a great fight. You know what I mean? That's all I can really say. It was a great fight. But this is real life boxing. Hit the like button and subscribe. You guys have a blessed night. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Leave comments. Tell me what y'all think. It's real life boxing. You can donate to the channel. Cash App, Real Life Boxing. Donate to the channel. PayPal, Real Life Boxing. The links will be in the description. Again, thanks for listening. If you're not subscribed, make sure to subscribe. Hit the bell icon so that you get all the notifications. It's Real Life Boxing, and we out of here. Peace and one love.